Does the government work for us, or do we work for the government? Can the president start a war on his own? And if he does, who can stop him? Tonight, the Constitution, the Congress, and making war. 3 months ago, while the Congress was on its spring break and the president was in Brazil, U.S. military forces began to bomb military targets in Libya. The president announced that this was a humanitarian mission and not a war. He stated that the plight of Libyan rebels who were trying to overthrow Libyan dictator Colonel Qaddafi moved him, and they were being massacred by Qaddafi and needed our help. He promised that this military venture would take weeks, not months, and that no American troops would be on the ground. At the time, many of us who believe that the Constitution means what it says objected to this. Many argued that Libya posed no threat to the United States. It sells us oil. We give it a few $1 million a year in foreign aid. And as recently as 2006, then President George W. Bush and then British Prime Minister Tony Blair announced that Colonel Qaddafi was a partner of ours in the war on terror. Under the Constitution, only the Congress can declare war. The President is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. That means he decides how war is waged. The Congress decides if, when, whether, and against whom it is waged. The last time there was a constitutional conflict of this magnitude between the Congress's power to declare war and the President's power to wage war was in the Nixon administration. President Nixon expanded the Vietnam War into Cambodia, and many in Congress believed that this seriously exceeded the authority it had given to President Johnson in the resolution authorizing the president to respond militarily to the alleged attack on 2 U.S. warships in the Gulf of Tonkin off the coast of North Vietnam. We now know that that attack never took place and was a sham, and the resolution authorizing war in Vietnam was procured through a fraud perpetrated by LBJ and his advisors. But Congress didn't know this when President Nixon sent the troops into Cambodia. So in order to restrain the president and keep him closer to his constitutional role, the Congress enacted the War Powers Act over President Nixon's veto. That law gives the president 60 days to use the military as he sees fit, and thereafter he must report to the Congress and ask for permission to continue. President Obama has not done so. The law also says that under no circumstances can the president use the military without the consent of Congress for more than 90 days. This coming Sunday, Father's Day in America, will be the 90th day of U.S. military involvement in Libya. President Obama has neither sought nor received congressional permission for this war. Last week, the House of Representatives meekly asked the president what his plans are with respect to Libya. The Senate, with the exception of some individual senators, as a group has been silent. Today, 10 members of the House, 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans, including Congressman Ron Paul, who, as you know, is running for president, sued President Obama and Defense Secretary Robert Gates and asked a federal judge to stop them from waging an illegal war. Who's to blame here? The law of the land is that the president can only lawfully wage war when the Congress has declared it, when the U.S. has been attacked, or when an attack is imminent and there's no other way to prevent it. The law of the land is that the president has usurped, when he has usurped a power that the Constitution has given to the Congress, it is the duty of the Congress to take that power back. The law of the land is that the president is not a king, the Congress is not a potted plant, and that it is the duty of the courts to declare what the Constitution means, and in the case of a constitutional crisis, to decide who's right and wrong, and who's wrong. That's the law of the land, but that's not the way it really works. The way it works is that presidents get to fight and kill wherever and whomever they wish, and Congress is too timid to interfere, and the courts will claim that this is a political dispute and should be resolved politically. America, is this the government you voted for? Doesn't the Constitution mean what it says? Should members of Congress need to sue the president just to stop him from usurping power that he doesn't have? What happens when someone assumes the powers of the presidency? Well, President Nixon once argued that, quote, if the president does it, it is not illegal. And Senator Obama once condemned that logic. Now, President Obama embraces what he once condemned. Does the president believe that he is bound by law just like the rest of us? Does the Congress believe that it should defend the Constitution when the president attacks it? Do the courts acknowledge that they can save our freedoms? Apparently not.